This is Agus.
Hi, Agus. How you doing, mate?
So nice to meet you. Our student, please, if you can open your video so that we can.
I've got my video on.
Yeah, this is our student, Pak Jeff. Please open all of you so that we can.
You're very quiet.
Yes.
You're very quiet. I can hardly hear you.
Yeah, you can see all of this.
Plenty of people. A lot. That's great.
Okay. I think please open, brother, sister. So open, so that we can introduce or we can see or we can make a photo session.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see. So everyone can see. We have now Mr. Jeff Thomson. Yeah, Jeff Thomson. So I introduce. He is now having a consultant and as a consultant in the oil and gas field. Yeah, I introduce him. He is already over 30 years. Yeah, experienced in every aspect of oil field management. So this he has many experience in the oil and gas. Yeah, in the management, operation management and business development, sales, marketing, field operation, logistic, quality and safety. Yeah, that we are studying now. Yeah, in oil and gas company. Yeah, so he was also the previous the same company with me. Yeah, and about 5 years back, he was a general manager. Yeah. I was an operation manager at the time, so I was under him. So now he will share his experience and his work, in oil and gas. You can ask anything about the technical or in the management, especially in the management, all of you, or in the technical, Pak Jeff, Mr. Jeff. So we have two subject here, principle of operation management, and other is I have semiconductor devices. So this maybe as it's okay as well. We study in the operation management. Okay, Pak Jeff and students. So we have before we proceed the experience sharing from Mr. Jeff or Pak Jeff. We make a photo session first. You please open. If you can open, open, and then we can have a screenshot. And then
okay, Pak Agus, thank you very much for the introduction.
Yeah,
I hope you can hear me. I was Pak Agus, your voice very faint, but I think I understood what you said.
Okay.
So Pak Agus has asked me to share my experience and where I come from and what some ideas that might give to you moving forward. I'm understanding that you guys are all in college. You're trying to figure out what you want to do, and you've got your whole future ahead of you. So let me start by describing myself and where I come from and see if there's any relation. I was born in England, actually in Yorkshire, in a poor family, and I was very lucky that my parents supported me in getting a good education. And I do believe that getting a good education, working hard, is essential to progress you through the rest of your life. So through my parents and the teachers at school, I was able to go to college, and I ended up getting a degree in geology. When I went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was interested in geography, mathematics, and geology came along. And I saw this as an opportunity to get outdoors. because we always at field trips and learn about materials and rocks and crystals and the formation of the earth. And all these things interested me, so I got into that, and I ended up with an honours degree in geology. Even when I was finishing my degree, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in geology, but where that came in, I don't know. And I found out from friends that there were opportunities in the oil and gas industry for geologists. And as relates to the present day, this is in 1973 that people told me, don't go in the oil and gas industry, it will be finished in 20 years. We found all the oil and gas and that's it. But here we are more than 40 years later, producing more oil and gas than ever before. Oil and gas drives the whole world. And we know today there's a big push on. They just had that big climate conference in Glasgow in the UK, and they're saying, we've got to stop this. It's polluting the atmosphere and it's not good. But you can't do that very easily when the whole world is driven by it. And one of the simple facts about oil and gas that people totally seem to ignore and neglect, yes, we use oil and gas to power cars, trucks, airplanes, ships. But please understand, more than half the oil and gas that's produced is used for many other things in many different industries, chemicals, plastics, medicine. The hydrocarbons have many uses in the world, so you cannot stop producing them, and they will be produced for many years to come, albeit hopefully in a different way that helps protect our climate and it protects all of us. So anyway, I got a job with an American company, and what was one of the pleasures of that was, if you join this American company out of college, they send you to Texas for training. Wow. So here am I, young guy, never been really out of the UK very much, and I get the chance to go for 1-2 months training in Texas. So yes, that's what I did. And I was fortunate enough to go to many places in Texas, and when I was capable, they sent me into the field to actually work. And the first place I went, where I stayed for 4 or 5 years, I went to Singapore. Now, there's no oil and gas in Singapore, but I worked all over Asia, mainly in Indonesia, also in Thailand, Bangladesh, Burma, some in Malaysia. And a lot of people think, when I get a degree, when I've done all this, I'll get a job and sit in a nice office and play with the computer, and that'll be it. No, that's not it. You come out of college, you've worked hard, you've got a good education, but you've no experience. You don't understand. If you're an engineer, yeah, you can do all the calculations and figuring out how things go together and the forces and all this, but until you've seen it in real life, seen how it really works, you don't really know. And so you can't make really good decisions. You make decisions based on calculations and paper. You need to get out and about. And the job that I had, I was working on oil and gas rigs, doing geological data collection, data analysis, helping them drill better wells. And I learned a lot about the whole processes of doing that. So I did that for several years in Asia. Then I went back and worked in the North Sea, and then I went to work in the Caribbean, in Trinidad. I was fortunate, and this is part of what oil and gas has been about to me. I worked all over the world, in many places. I've worked with and for many different nationalities, many different ethnic groups, and it's nearly always been a great pleasure, where people want to learn, want to get ahead, And that's always been a focus of what I've done, is like with you young people, help you understand, work hard, get ahead, do something positive for yourself. Don't back away from decisions, keep moving ahead. So then, after that period, late 70s in Trinidad, I was promoted into a management training course back in Texas, and I was there for about a year and learned a lot about the fundamentals of management. And then I went back into the field operations as an operations manager, and so on and so on. And I moved around a lot. I worked many places in the world, most of them very enjoyable, even though you don't think so at the time. Give the opportunity to see something new, see different people. How do things really work? So I can give many instances of how it goes, how it works together. I'll give you a little anecdote about the oil field. How small it is really. This is what you find in your working experience. When I was working in Indonesia, I did work for about 6 or 8 months on a little island called Tarakan, northeast Kalimantan, onshore on a drilling rig. And the drilling company, the guy that was running the rig was a Canadian guy, really nice guy, and we worked together well. And then that job finished, went away. 6 years later, I'm in Maracaibo, Venezuela, in South America, and I'm setting up a new job on a drilling rig. And I get to this drilling rig, and across the 300 or 400 meters away, where there were all trailers for the drilling crew and all that, I see this guy walking across towards me, and immediately I recognized him. It was the same guy, the same Canadian that I'd worked with in Tarakan 5 or 6 years before. Because it's the oil field's a small one. I think most industries are the same. That you might, even though you're working for a big company, you keep coming back to the same people that you've known before. And so that was great. So I never get tired of this. Re-meeting old friends. I mean, I've been around a long time now. I still meet and see people. I formed a friendship a few years ago with a group of people that I went to school with in the 60s in the UK. And we chat, we send WhatsApps to each other, photos, messages, jokes. And it's great. It's great to remember where you came from and what it still means to you. And I think you guys need to always remember that. Remember where you came from, but keep moving ahead. Don't back away from decisions. I think that's one thing I see. I don't know whether I just said, I've been here in Indonesia, in Jakarta, for the past 20 years now, and I still see that Indonesians are not great at making decisions. And I think this slows them down, slows the companies down, slows everything down. You've got to be able to make decisions. To make decisions, you need good information. When you've got the education, you understand what you're doing. Don't just do it by rote. Oh, this works because A, B, C. No. How does it really work? What does it really mean? Then you can make good decisions. And every place you work, there's a hierarchy. There's a company. There's the big bosses. There's the intermediate bosses. If you're engineers or whatever you are, and you have to convince people. You have to convince them what you believe is correct, and they have to accept criticism, accept questioning. You know, because most things go together as a team effort in the real world, not as individuals. I've been here in Indonesia now, as Agus said, we worked together for a couple of years when he was back in Jakarta, and we worked together. He ran the operations, and he would ask for my advice, and I would ask for his advice. You know, so we can make the right choice. Should we do this? Should we do that? If one of you does it on their own without questioning, without searching for the real answer, maybe you don't get the right answer, because you can get there. So I can talk for as long as you want about as many things as you want. If you've got anything you'd like me to talk about, or any questions already, can somebody speak up?
Yes, Pak. That we are learning about the operation management.
I can't hear you, Agus.
Operation management, Pak.
Operation management.
Yeah. So
okay, what you want to know what that is? I've done that.
Yeah, regarding
in
the
several
decision.
cases. So when your company has obtained a contract or is running a business, there's operations, what things are done to make the business work. And so I've been promoted from supervisor to operations manager to general manager, where you control the people, control the assets, the equipment, and sometimes or not control the money, how the money's spent or not. And again, you have to understand what you're really trying to do. It's easy to make decisions that are not correct if you don't have the right information. So you need to get the right information and then put it together with the people. Sometimes in a business, the people on the ground floor, the lowest level people, the laborers, the guys that clean the warehouse, these guys know more about what's going on than the top management. And if you're the operations manager, you need to talk to all these people, find out what they think, what they're doing, and it will really help you. Doesn't sound too exciting, but it's true. I'll give you an example. When I was working out of Houston in the late 80s, and I used to go to South America all the time. We had operations all over South America, and I'm going down to Argentina because we had an accident. We actually had an accident in Venezuela. We dealt with explosives. In oil and gas, when you drill a well, you put steel pipe in, and then you put explosive charges in the well. You shoot holes in that casing to allow oil and gas to flow in. But we'd had an accident in Venezuela. And we understood from investigating that accident, which I did because part of my job was safety coordinator, the guy did not understand the dangers of what was happening. So, as a company, and we were a pretty big company called Atlas Wireline, and I was looking after South America for safety as well as logistics and some other things, go to every base. So I went. Venezuela, Maracaibo, Los Moroches, Machirin, Colombia, Bogota, Neva, Trinidad, Argentina. We had many bases in Argentina. Go to Buenos Aires, that's the head office, but we had bases all over Argentina. And we went to every base and we talked to everybody that we could find, and we gave lessons on, we decided we'd give lessons on what should be the correct procedure, and find out if people test and find out what they wanted. And we found out it was good because our field people had trained the guys at the lowest end. So in these operations, the equipment's moved in trucks, and when the truck comes back to the yard, the truck has to be cleaned out of all the waste material and unused stuff and all that. And we got all those guys, and we found out because we had good operations people in the field, they taught all those people. And the guy that swept the truck out knew what were dangerous items, what things to leave alone, and how to deal with things. And so we never had an accident again. And the people in the field, was so pleased with what we did, because I wasn't on my own, because they said, Jeff, you're the first guy that's come down here in 3 or 4 years. You're helping us. I said, yeah, we care about people. We don't want to get people hurt. So it makes you feel good. You've achieved something when you get the feedback from those people that are working for you or around you. You've helped them progress. You help things going well. Whatever you're doing, safety is it's a major issue. It's become a subject on it, kind of on its own. But I believe, and every business has a lot of things for a lot of years now, which I've worked in: quality, safety, health, environment, and they all go together. Because if you're working safely in a healthy, environmentally responsible way, it will help the quality of what you're doing. And so those things go together. And the companies, like I was able to do, because of where I was, you can talk about different things in different places, that they all go together. Environmental concerns were never a big priority in my early days. I've seen horrible environmental things in the field. I remember in Trinidad when I worked there on shore, you'd see leaking pipelines and oil flowing into streams and ponds and animals. And I remember seeing a crocodile coming out of a pond, all covered black in oil. Yeah, they didn't worry about that stuff too much those days. Today, not allowed, and it's quite right. But it has to be done in a proper way. People sometimes they get so wrapped up in all those things, it causes it's done over the top. We say they do too much. I remember just a couple of years ago here in Indonesia, a friend of mine was running an operation offshore. I forget what they were doing, cementing, a coil tubing work or something, and they had a slight incident. They used pipe wrenches. You know what a pipe wrench is? It's a big manual tool that you tighten pipes and fittings with. And they had a pipe wrench, and it's like a big spanner, and part of it came loose. Nobody was hurt. There was no environmental issue. There was nothing. But the customer made such a big deal over this. There were 2-3 months of going round in circles and reports on the quality of the materials and where the equipment came from and this and this and this. To me, that was too much. It was like an excuse to stop proper work going ahead and show. People will do that. They will show how good they are by stopping things. Sometimes you have to stop things. But it was too much, and the guy, my friend who was responsible for that operation, he was going crazy because he could not get him convinced. They're doing everything that they could, and this was a very, things happen sometimes, but for sure, most accidents can be prevented by using the right materials, the right equipment, people with the right skills, the right training. And when you're in any kind of management, these are things you have to think about all the time. Even if you're a logistics manager, you have to think about, does that guy really know how to drive that forklift truck? Is he lifting things properly? Anything like this. So you guys in a wide variety of things. My experience has been almost entirely in oil and gas, but I got many friends in many other industries, many different I don't know what you call them, engineers, managers, salespeople, teachers, all sorts of things. A lot of these things, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, they all overlap, and it's great if you talk to your friends and your compatriots and your peers about what you're doing and find out what they're doing. and it all helps you develop and helps things get better.
Okay, Pak Jeff. Okay, Pak Jeff, it's a good the management regarding
I
the.
can't hear you, mate. I can't hear
Yeah, you cannot hear.
you. No, very, very faint.
Hello.
Hello?
Can Pak Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, it's a very good experience. Now we are studying about how to increase the quality of products. If,
Yeah.
to increase the quality of products.
Right.
Yeah. And how to reduce the cost of the production. This is what we are studying. And then how to make the responsive to the customer.
Yeah.
So you can elaborate with your
Okay.
experience. Yeah.
Okay. And I've quality, like I said, quality, safety, health, environment all go together. If you're doing things safely, so if you talk about, I've had some experience in manufacturing, not a great deal, but you go back to it all the time because you're using manufactured products, and you want the good quality, but you also want a good cost. And you know, Indonesia is classic for that. The first thing they always ask you is, what's the cost? What's the price? And you say, look, you want better quality, it costs a bit more because you have to use the right materials. And I don't know what it's like in Malaysia, but here there's so much stuff that's not right because the qualities can't be there because there's not enough cost to make it right. People cheat all the time, but yes, if you're making good quality products, you will keep the cost down because you won't have waste. Because you need, when you're talking about quality, you need to test what you've made, certify what you've got before it goes out the door. And if you're failing, it will cost you too much money. A friend of mine here a few years ago, he was working in a plant. He was the production manager, and they were making glass bottles and all sorts of different bottles for soft drinks and perfume and medicine and all sorts of things. And they were trying to make a new product, and they were having an awful time. The machines wouldn't work right. Things were very bad. They were only getting like 50% of what they were making was good, and 50% they had to. And fortunately, with glass, you can remelt it and reuse it again. So it was costing them a lot of money. They couldn't deliver the products that the customer wanted, and they were having awful trouble making them properly. So they brought him along. It was to help out because he had many years of experience, and his people were good. He said, my people are so good in the workshop and everything, but they go, what about trying this? What about trying this? What about doing this? What about doing that? So they tried several different things, and slowly, it didn't happen immediately. Things started to improve, and the next production run they got 60% quality because everything they made was then measured by lasers and all sorts of things. And inside a few weeks, they got the quality up to 90%. 90% of what they were making was good quality product. What did that do? It kept the cost down because they weren't having to reuse, recycle, add materials, this, that, and the other. I said, how can you get to 100% quality? And he said, well, we could, but it would take us so long and do so much. And that's one of the basic things I remember about quality is to increase the quality, you have to increase the cost. The more money you spend, the better quality you will get. But you get to a point where it's almost impossible to get to 100%. You get 90%, 95% or more. But to get that extra few percent of quality, you will spend so much money that it's not worthwhile for everybody. You have to accept that some things, most things are never perfect, yeah. But that increasing the quality means that the cost will be maintained or reduced because you get more product for less effort. Therefore, it's better for you as a company. And your customer's happier because you're getting in more things more quickly.
Yes, Pak Jeff. Okay. Just now you mentioned regarding with the different culture. Yeah, you have
Yes.
been working in many countries, and then you are facing the the different culture. So how can we cope? Just now you mentioned in Indonesia that's a very maybe a different culture. Then how can you cope this to maintain? I mean to improve the
Well,
discipline, etc. Yeah, and among the employees.
I would say I worked in many different places. They're all very different. And if we say culture, I mean work culture, ethics, religion comes into it sometimes. The main point, I've really had no problems with real people by showing everybody some respect and listening to them, yeah, and communicating with them properly. If you're in, I worked in Syria, I worked in Oman, Arabs. Their culture is so different. I remember being in a market in Syria with a Syrian friend of mine. I wanted to buy something simple, a brass bowl or something, this, that, and the other. And my friend Adam, he says, I'll deal with this. You want to buy it? Yeah, what do you want? Okay. So he says, I'll deal with this. And he started talking to the guy, trying to negotiate a price. I hadn't been there very long, so I didn't understand. The next thing I know, they're both shouting and screaming at each other, like they're going to fight. And this is over an ornamental, simple bowl that's going to cost about $5 or $10. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And they shook hands. And I said, Adam, what happened? Why were you shouting and screaming? He says, that's what we do. That's the way we do things here. And I go, I thought you were going to fight. I was getting really worried, really upset. He says, no, that's the way we do it. Come on, let's sit down with the guy now. We're going to have a cup of tea and have a talk. And I learned, hey, it's very different. I know here in Asia, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Thailand, you don't do that. Confrontation and getting aggressive and angry do not work. You need to find a better way. You need to communicate with people and listen to what they want to say. Yeah, give them an answer. You don't have to agree with them, but they're all different. In working in America, and I worked and lived there for about 10 years. They like to get things done. They don't like to mess around and talk and carry on. They want to make a decision, yes or no. And sometimes they make the wrong decision, but they've made a decision and they get on and try and make it work. I worked for a French company. They were totally different. They like to talk for hours and days about something before they'd arrive at a decision. The problem with the French was when they made a decision, they never wanted to change it again. They believed what they'd done was perfect and that was it. The Americans, they make a decision. If it's not right, if it's wrong, they change, do something different. Just keep trying till they get it right. But you have to listen and communicate with people to understand what's going on. I've never had any problems with many different cultures because I learned early on. I've always worked Always work with different people from different walks of life and everything. Respect them, whether it's the head of the company or it's the tea boy. Just show them some respect, and then you'll get more out of them. That was classic in Oman. I worked in Oman for a few years for Shell, and in Oman, everybody, all the men dressed alike, yeah, with a dish dash and a little turban hat on, and you didn't know when somebody was walking around your department whether it was one of the very top guys in the company or whether it was a tea boy, unless you knew them. So you just showed them some respect. Yes, thank you, please. And everybody got on just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I know here in Indonesia, there's a lot of cultural differences between different ethnic groups. People from Java don't like people from North Sumatra. People from Kalimantan don't like people from, and nobody likes the Javanese, although they're in power. And they're all different ethnic groups, but they still find a way to get on. They still find a way to work together, communicate, and be sensitive to each other. That's all it takes. Listen, understand, communicate.
Yeah, it's important, Pak Jeff. This different culture, so that we should have a different treatment. We should listen, and then we can discuss, and then we will solve any problem. Yeah, last time also we have I have problem with the tubular running services from Sulawesi, you know, the Celebes Islands people mostly, and then with Java people, so they will difficult to communicate each other.
You're right. Yes, I remember that, Agus. You're right. The people we had working for you were all from North Sulawesi, from Manado.
Yeah, Manado.
But a lot of the work was in Java. And they used to gang together. The people from Sulawesi would club together, and therefore sometimes it was difficult working with the Javanese or for the Javanese because they never liked each other very much. They still got it done, but it wasn't easy to control. It wasn't easy. But when you understand what's going on, then you can find a way to make it work.
Yeah, this good, Pak Jeff. Regarding the logistic, and then you also maybe to improve the how to improve the logistic management when we want to reduce the cost. Yeah, regarding the logistic like tracking, shipping, etc. So can you have any?
Yeah, when I worked in Houston. I was logistics manager for South America. We had operations all over South America. And actually, this was my job, I was to support all the operations in anything that they needed in the field operation. These were from parts, from nuts and bolts and screws and electronic boards, to high-cost electronic equipment, to truck parts and this, that, and the other. So we had a system in place. Because we were lucky from at that time, the company wasn't lucky that it was after they had a big drop in the business in North America. So we had a big inventory of equipment that had been returned and unused parts in the warehouse. And we had registers of everything. So my job was to ensure that we got the best equipment that we had available without buying new equipment if possible. And I was able to do that successfully because we had a big inventory. Yeah. We also had used equipment that had been returned that wasn't in the business had been depreciated. When equipment's been used for a few years, it's paid for, and even though it's good, can be good operationally, it's no direct cost to the operation anymore. And there was a lot of equipment like that around. So I remember one case, I had Argentina and Trinidad looking for what thing of a wireline winch, and these things brand new would cost about $200,000. But because we had all this equipment sat in the warehouse, I talked to the people that built all our stuff in the what they call the truck shop, where they built all this equipment, and I said, can you help me? I need this and I need this for South America. And I said, I know you've got all those used ones in the yard there. What are you going to do with them? Oh, we're going to throw them away. They've no commercial value anymore. And I said, well, can you get how many? Can you put 2 or 3 together and make one? Yes, we can do that. So that's what I got them to do. And so instead of costing $200,000, I got the guys in the field a good quality working piece of equipment for less than $20,000, because that's what it costs to rebuild it and use parts and other things. So in logistics, it's always trying to keep the cost down. Sometimes it's not always great. When I was there as well, we used a lot of people use consolidated air freight. So we were sending stuff to South America all the time, to Colombia and Venezuela, Argentina.
Yeah.
So we had a freight agent, and what they would do, so we were in Houston, so moving stuff to South America, it used to be trucked or flown from Houston down to Miami, and then it was consolidated. So we had, whatever it was, we had 3 or 4 tons of equipment, but the plane would hold 20 tons. So they would hold what you had until they filled the plane up. That kept the cost down for them, and they were able to give us a really good deal. However, this didn't always work good, because we needed things. Sometimes we need something in a hurry, and we found out that the freight company was lying to us. They were telling us, oh, well, it's gone, and because they were keeping the cost down.
Yeah.
If they'd have said, look, we can do this, but it costs you more for this one, we would do that, because we could make more money by getting stuff to the field faster than having it wait to be consolidated for another 2 or 3 weeks. So you have to understand, you have to balance. What is the need? How soon do you need it? And what can we do about the cost? I had another one a couple of years ago. I sold something here in Indonesia, something small, it was about 50 kilos. I had to get it from Louisiana to Jakarta, and we factored in the price of the freight, and that was all good. And then we found out that the freight company had decided to hire a pickup truck to move these 50 kilos of gear from Louisiana to Houston on what they call a hot shot. So they just sent it. It takes about 12 hours to drive or something, and they charge us $500 for that, for that small shipment, and that was crazy. It meant that we made no profit out of selling this equipment. So again, you have to understand what's going on, and they're all the same. I've seen them here in Indonesia. When I was with another company here, I'm in Jakarta, and we had most of our operations were out of Balikpapan in East Kalimantan. So we had equipment coming and going all the time. And the typical route was we gave it to a freight forwarder in Jakarta, and he put it on a ship in Jakarta, and would tell us it would take 1 week to get it to Balikpapan. Sailing time direct would be only 3 or 4 days, but all these ships did not go from Jakarta to Balikpapan direct. They would go from down Java. They go from Jakarta to Semarang, to Surabaya, across to Sulawesi, to Makassar, up to Samarinda in Kalimantan, and finally get back to Balikpapan. It would take 3 weeks. And and it was costing us a lot of money because we were losing equipment. So
Yeah.
we found out a better way. We used our own truck, because stuff that could be fitted on a 10-ton truck. We would move it from Jakarta to Semarang, halfway down Java, where it would go on a ship that would go across from Java to Benjamaisen, southern Kalimantan, and then the truck would roll off and drive up to Balikpapan. And we could do that in 4 or 5 days on our own, and we would ensure that stuff was there in time. And it was all good. And at the same time, then the truck would load up old equipment that needed bringing back, and bring it back. So it was saved us a lot of money. It made things a lot more efficient, and made everybody happy. So there's a lot to logistics. You've got to be careful. You want to keep the costs as reasonable as possible, but you have to decide what's worth doing, and that means communicating with the people that need the stuff, not just saying, "Oh, I'm logistics, I do that, and that's it, done." No, you communicate with the people that need the stuff, and say, "Oh, how urgently do you need this? You know, we can do this different ways. We can send it quickly. It costs more money, or we can, if we take time and consolidate things together, it will save us money." Don't just make the decision without discussing and communicating with the people working around you.
Yeah, correct, Pak Jeff. Very good experience for the logistic, because this is a part of the lowering the cost in the supply chains management, so then we can gain the profit up.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. I mean, another example the other way around. I was involved in something a couple of years ago here. And we were bringing some big equipment, some gas compressors from Houston to Jakarta. And the compressor company I was trying to support said, "We can do that, and it will take 8 weeks." And the company we were selling them to, "No, we'll do that ourselves because we can do it a little bit cheaper." Well, they did it themselves, and instead of 8 weeks, it took them 14 weeks. And so they were, when by the time they got the stuff here, they lost the ability to use that equipment for 6 weeks or 2 months. They didn't save any money. It cost them a lot of money.
It's very important in our operation. Okay, any other question from the floor? So I let your brother sister to have a question direct to Pak Jeff, please. Siapa boleh? Silakan. Direct question. So unmute your mic if you have question. Any question? So I will give the bonus point if you have a question, Mr. Jeff. Yeah, this is already common in my class, Pak Jeff, that if we have a discuss and then the response from the floor from the students, so that I give the bonus point. So this is important for the final mark, actually. Okay, please, brother, sister, silakan. Ada?
I can't hear anything.
Brother, sister, ada tak? Juraidah? Juraidah, ada? You have question? Yeah. So unmute your mic if you say something. Sister Juraidah Yusuf, please unmute if you have question.
No question, Doctor.
No question. Any question to Pak Jeff, because he has
anything at all.
any question? So whatever, a background or the country, original country, and then in particular, or maybe family also. It's okay.
Yes.
Please, any other? There's the question from Chen Yok Ching, Pak Jeff, from chat box.
Hang on, I think somebody said, I've lost that.
Yeah. What is the most challenging work you have before?
The most challenging work.
Yes. So from Chen
Oh.
Yuk Ching.
Well, when I was working in the field, the most challenging work I had was working in the North Sea, north of Scotland, 150 miles offshore, and it was always bad weather,
Very cold.
and the work was very difficult. It wasn't that difficult for us really, but it was very challenging.
Yeah.
But by working together with the drilling crew and the company people, we were able to do things properly and very well. So the one instance was we. I know your people don't know oil and gas too much, so we were drilling this well, and we had a process and procedure for doing something, and the drilling guy decided not to do it. He decided, it was as usual, it was 10, 11 o'clock at night, and he decided to do what he wanted to do, not what he was supposed to do. And because of that, there was a big problem with the well. So I could get, without getting into the detail, it could have been very bad. We could have had a fire, we could have had an explosion, we could have had anything. But we had to then work together for like 30 hours non-stop to make things right again, and we did. So it was extremely challenging. It was very satisfying that we were successful because we all worked together and made it right. That was a very challenging thing to do, and in fact, it was so good that afterwards we were commended by the customer. He treated us to 2 nights in a hotel in Aberdeen, some meals and some beverages and all sorts of things, because we saved the day by working together. It was very challenging, but he appreciated what we were able to do to make things right. And so the answer is there. When you're faced with big problems, big challenges, never give up. Don't run away from it. Never give up. Work with the people around you. Don't try and do it. Sometimes you're on your own. When I was working a lot of that stuff offshore, I was working on my own. You had to do it. But there was always people around you to help you. Always communicate. Get on. If you get on with people, they'll always help you.
Okay, this will take hang answer. So it's hard to work in oil and gas field. Is it hard?
What do you mean hard?
Maybe a very maybe the students imagine about the working at the offshore and the drilling services. So this is like hard work in oil and gas.
Well,
Is it
it
hard?
depends what you're doing. I mean, I was doing geological things. The hard work was when you before you drill the well, in preparing all the equipment, because then it's permanently fixed to take measurements of what's going on while you're drilling, and you have a lot of instruments that you're collecting data, you're collecting and then when you're drilling the well, the hard work was collecting the samples. When you drill the well, the samples come out of the well, or the thing called a shale shaker. You collect the samples, you have to wash them, you have to look at them under a microscope, you have to describe them, you have to save them, label them. Sometimes a lot of physical work like that, but it's not like swinging a sledgehammer all day. So sometimes physically challenging, a lot of times more mentally challenging.
Okay, thank you, Pak Jeff. This is a question from Nur Zulaika. Another question: do you have any regret or think twice during your career?
Yes. I was running a good operation in Singapore in the early 80s, and I thought it was I thought I got a good opportunity to go back. They asked me to go back and take up a different role back in the headquarters in Dallas, and there was some personal reasons why that was good for me. But in development of my career, it didn't do what I expected it to do. I'd have been better staying in Singapore, so I regret that. I just saw another question typed up. I'm not sure how to get to that.
Yeah, I can read. I can read it.
Yeah.
So that is a question from Nurul Izwana Sarif. Now another question from Chang Jin Hui. How do you define success?
How do I find there's success in many different things? There's success for your company, that you achieve the objectives that you've laid out with the company to get, to make this amount of sales, to perform this work in the best quality way, to make money for your company. There's success for you as a person in, you know, what people accept that you've achieved for them. And I've always found a success in helping younger people, developing younger people. In many jobs I've been in, it doesn't matter when I was general manager at Indokaya there for a while, there was young people around there who were very good. They were ambitious. They wanted to get on. They wanted things to do well. Yeah. And they would listen to you and follow what you were trying to help them with, and it helped them progress. And it's good to see now, a few years later, I still run into some of those people and see what they've become. They've become engineers in oil companies, and they've been, personally, they've got families, and it's good to see that they've progressed. And I go, that to me, that's a success for me, because I believe I helped them. Mm-hmm. So I saw a question there about, what did it say? Adapt to different cultures.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what it said. How do you adapt to different cultures?
Yeah,
I think by listening to people, by talking to people, by trying to understand. But I'm not an Asian person. I'm British, and it's so different.
Yeah, for this case, Pak Jeff, I have experience when working with the Sound Atkinson. This is the young the manager of the Batam workshop.
Yeah.
So there was the misunderstood between the Sound Atkinson and the employee, when the Sound Atkinson shouting the fuck you, but actually this fuck you, there are so many meaning of the fuck you. So this is a different culture. So I explained to the employee that we have also such kind of word, fuck you, like the Jawa Timur word like a jancho. This is like a friendship, a friendly word. But sometimes misunderstood fuck you as some root word. This is
I mean, that's what again, talking about culture, and how do you understand? You have to listen. You have to listen
exactly.
And not, I mean, you'd be taken aback by saying, why is he saying nasty things to me? And then finally you realize that he's not saying nasty things to you. So again, you have to do a lot of listening. I've always been regarded myself as a good listener. So I'm sorry, I'm not catching these questions. I see them flash on my phone that I'm using, and I haven't read them really good. What was another one?
Actually,
how do you manage stress at work? Well, I think it goes back to, I go back to my school days. I had a mathematics teacher, and I didn't particularly enjoy mathematics, but I wasn't too bad. I got A-level mathematics, and on one of my reports, my mathematics teacher, Jeff, works hard and plays hard. So you have to be able to step back from your work. Some things you do go on all the time. How do you manage stress at work? Well, you have to stop and think and carry on. But you have to have something outside of work as well. It's your family, your hobbies, your dog, your children. Some things you like to do. You have to step away from it, and at sometimes, and it allows you to breathe, allows you to do something different, and that enables you to think better about the things that are causing you the stress and how you can cope with it. Everybody has stress.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Jeff, for your very fruitful sharing your experience. This is very important to our young generation. Later, then there will be manager later, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
My pleasure.
yeah, actually there are many questions in the chat box,
Yeah.
but because we have a limit time now,
Okay.
already at 2 o'clock, so we very thanks for your
All right. I just like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to your people. I'd love to sit down and talk to them together individually and all that.
Okay.
And I say when I get questions like that about stress and they're all things that affect us all. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Try and figure out what's going on, and never give up. Never give up. You young people have your whole future ahead of you, and things are not always easy. They're not often difficult. Please, never give up. Find a way. Talk to somebody. Communicate. Don't hide.
Okay.
Keep moving forward. And I wish you all the best of luck for whatever you do in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Jeff. This never give up. We should feel confident with our work and our decision. Okay, thank you for Pak Jeff for your kind time here, and we will having the another time later.
All right.
Okay, thank you for all students.
Man.
Okay.
Thank you, Agus. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So we close this time. Bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.